In today's episode, Aileen and Nancy redefine the definition of perfection. We also talk about aging and how to move past fear. Welcome to Expansive Minds Podcast, Gateway to Freedom, a podcast where two friends, Aileen and Nancy, explore and expand beyond what they think they know in order to live a life of freedom. Thank you for joining us, and away we go. Good morning.
Good morning, Nancy.
How are you?
I'm doing great. How are you?
I gotta say all is well, because that's my canned response. But man, these past 2 weeks, what the bleep?
That new moon
Yeah.
a week ago on that Thursday was dynamic in a way that slammed us and slammed parts of, perhaps we could say it slammed parts of our wounded egos.
I've never had a new moon slam me. Normally with the new moons, I'm hopeful. I feel the regenerative new birth feeling, but this last new moon, I was just wanting to flip the bird off to the universe. I'm sick of telling me you support me because you don't. And I'm sick of you telling me I can manifest because I can't. And I was just a pouty little child, honestly, these last 2 weeks. And just tears are coming while I'm cooking dinner, just feeling this sadness overcome me. And I don't know if I should embrace it as a passing energy through my body or if I should resist it. I'm not really sure how to handle it. Sometimes I know, and I've felt and heard from coaches and have coached, that's okay, be with it. Like Eckhart Tolle says, put some space around it and it'll just move through you. Or if I should, I don't want to say investigate, look into it a little more. I'm not really sure. So I'm also lately very unsure of my intuitive abilities.
The visual I'm getting now while we're talking is as if this full moon, I'm sort of animating. It's animating itself to be a human. It's like one of the human features. And it's like it grabbed all of us by the collar and was slapping us like, snap out of it, snap out of it. And we were like, we don't want to snap out of it.
Yeah.
And what
I
is
get
it that
that, the
we're supposed to
Italian, what's the matter, you?
totally
Right?
like snap out of it.
Yeah.
And so when we think about it, if it's something we're still hanging on to from all this work we've done over the years to release and let go, it's got to be one of the toughest things that we're hanging on to. And so this new moon, right? So if we're trying to get to our vision, our dream, our higher self's glory, the wounded ego that we're still, holding and nurturing, right? Being asked or actually being kind of slapped around to drop it can be hard. I really think that's, now that we're talking about it, I really think that's what it felt like. This new moon was like, look you keep saying you want to do this. Drop that now. Like when you're wrestling with a dog and you're trying to get it to drop.
The shoulder. Oh, pulling.
And you're like, give me that. You're like, give me that. Drop that. Drop that. Drop that. And they don't want to. Yeah. The new moon was doing that. Like, drop it. Drop it. We were like, no. We're holding on to this.
So we are dogs on a bone, in essence, is what you're saying. Energetic dogs on a bone.
We just don't want to drop this thing.
But I don't know what to drop, I guess, is the next question.
Exactly.
I want to drop it. I actually said that coming out of my meditation this morning, because the card I got was the second time I went to the animal deck this week. I did go to wherever I'm feeling, but this weekend it was the I'm gonna give him credit. What is Ted Andrews?
Oh yeah,
the animal wisdom thing. Yep. Yeah. So anyway, second time this week I pulled an inverted peacock, and I'm not saying pulled like shuffled. I mean, bridge shuffled, hand shuffled,
right.
Out jumps the peacock,
yeah.
inverted earlier this week. So then this morning, I've pulled several cards from the deck this week. For some reason, this is the deck I've been going to. So now 3 days later, I shuffle bridge, blah, blah, blah. And the freaking thing popped out again, inverted.
What did
I didn't
it mean?
even pull. Let me look.
Remember?
Hang on one second.
Okay. And then the thing that
time here while I dig.
that's right. Yeah, do it. So the other thing, when you say, what is it that you're trying to drop? What I'm hearing intuitively is it's about dropping our sense of worthlessness. Because if you're going to go to this next level, whatever it might be, financial, emotional, it's all abundance oriented, whatever it might be, like the perfect lover, the perfect home, the perfect place to live, the perfect sense of self. By perfect, to me, that just means really satisfying and fulfilling.
Okay.
Right. In the moment where you're just like, this is, I hope many of us have had at least one or two experiences of that. It could be looking out at a sunset and being like, this is just a perfect moment.
Right.
Or as we were talking to Gabby earlier, when she was talking about finding this new restaurant and what she ate, I've had those experiences where I put something in my mouth that I'm eating. I'm like, whoa, this is like the perfect blend of flavors.
Right.
You're just in this savoring moment of how perfect things are feeling viscerally in our body with all of our energy bodies, all of our chakras. And so to get to that place, it's a smoothness. It's a communication within ourselves and choosing to prioritize our own communication within ourselves, all of our energy bodies, all of our chakras does take some focusing. It takes elevating our prioritizing to adoring ourselves.
Right. Oh, so many things came up as you were speaking. Because it was just most recent that we had discussed with Gabby. Gabby had this perfect meal on her way to somewhere completely different, right? So Gabby wasn't thinking of the perfect meal. They were going to this new bar, kids, and she's like, I'm hungry. Let's swing into this restaurant. And now this is her new perfect. So that's
not what we think it
surrendering,
is.
right? Or just not even knowing, but just sort of trusting the draw. And you mentioned something like the perfect life, blah, blah, blah. I was wobbly a bit this week because I had dinner with a friend from a previous experience. And when I owned the fitness studio and stuff, and we were reminiscing, and she was talking about this one particular woman who was a lovely woman but triggered my insecurities. Okay, because she was she's beautiful, she has the perfect home, she's got the gorgeous husband, she's got blah, blah, blah. And it just triggered a whole bunch of insecurities around my home, my look, my appearance. Not in the studio anymore. I'm not as in shape as I was. I'm wrestling with that, with body images. Again, all of a sudden now that body images are coming up. I thought I was over that, and apparently I'm not. So yeah, that was a wobble. And I don't know if the inverted peacock card had anything to do with it. Well, first off, it was number 10. So if we look at numerology, that is, God is with you, God is supporting you. And peacocks are sort of very mystical, and the feathers look like eyes. So it has to do with perception, sight, but not necessarily sight, perception. There's a difference. And the fact that it was inverted means there's something I'm not seeing. So, so I meditated this morning, and I said, well, what the heck am I not seeing? I'm ready.
Perception
I'm
of yourself.
to let it go, but what am I not seeing?
The perception of yourself as beautiful and worthy.
Okay.
Which is what I just was talking about.
Back to again, okay. All right.
Right?
So many things go back to, didn't Louise Hay say the worthiness thing? So many things go back to the self-worth. For heaven's, I'm not going to swear on the thing, but I have been working on the worthiness for 20 years now. When I finally came in, I have been feeling it, I'm sure, all my life, but I have been actively working on it since I was 30.
It's the part of surrendering into, we talked about it, I think, last time, surrendering into the perfection. What we do is we forget.
Can we look up perfection like you do your little technique?
I do love to.
I
let's
love
do it.
your technique, and I want to know what
does that say?
What that version of perfection is. And I've been listening a lot for some reason lately. I'm drawn to Cryon, and he keeps redefining words that don't match. And he's like, this is how we see this word. And one in particular was compassionate. After we look at perfection, I want to talk about compassion because that's been quite the theme as well this week.
The conditioned state or quality of being free or as free as possible from all flaws or defects.
Now, I would not put the word free in the word in the definition of perfection, because to me, perfection is a prison. Like, it does not feel free to me.
No.
Those two words shouldn't be in the same sentence. What the heck?
Because your perception is skewed. That's what they're telling you.
Okay.
Perfection is the quality of your state of being free. That's it.
Okay, if you stop it there.
Yeah.
But when it continued on, I wasn't on
Well,
board.
okay, as free as possible from all flaws or defects. The flaws and defects are your perception. I'm too fat. I have acne. Whatever. I'm thinking about you talking about. I don't know if you kept it in the last podcast or whether we talked about it when we were on or not, about loving your trees in your.
I do love my trees, and I think it is still in there. Yeah.
Okay, which is cool. So I'm hearing you talk about this woman and her yard. I mean, does she have these amazing, magnificent beings all over her yard that are like, I am
She
living
did, but she
love.
cut them all down.
Exactly.
And now she's got the manicured, quote unquote, I'm doing air quotes again on air, perfect lawn.
Well, so it's not perfect. It's not perfect. You're taking the word perfect and you're just making it into like gross human ego stuff.
Am I making perfect the societal?
Yes, because you just said the perfect lawn, but the perfect lawn is not an ego lawn. You're saying like the flaw is it's perfect because the flaw and the defects of trees is gone. Do you see what I'm saying?
Right.
And your yard is perfect because it's your love of the trees. It's your relationship with the trees. It's the guardian of the trees that you are feeling so much love and depth and relationship with.
Yeah. I mean, I appreciate them so much. I feel like they're my sentinels.
So isn't that perfect?
Yeah. My head is swirling. You just kind of upended me, so I have to get my bearings again.
You're doing great.
Yeah.
And so perfection is the freedom. And so would we then say the defect and the flaws are that you perceive you have defects and flaws? Yeah. Loving your trees and honoring the guardianship, the imperative nature of the web of existence.
That's perfection.
That's perfection.
Yeah.
And so when you look at this lawn that you think the ego world has said, but this represents that she has her act together, and this represents that the world honors and values her because she, sprays insecticides and kills all the animals.
She's got the perfect figure and all that jazz.
The perfect figure, bogus, man.
Bogus. Yes, it is. I know.
I love what I do for a living, and I will tell you, so many women suffer. And they suffer because they're doing laxatives every day to get the perfect figure. Yeah. They're suffering because they're purging and binging. They're suffering because they're staying on antidepressants to lose weight.
No,
right?
Yeah,
they're suffering because they're spandexing the crap out of themselves.
Yeah. And
right? That's not freedom.
No.
And people forget, when women hit menopause, estrogen stops being produced, and our bodies are so smart that they create a place for estrogen to be stored to last us for the rest of our lives, which is in our fat cells.
Maybe we could also speak to, there was in some of my stuff coming up with the menopause, a loss of value, because now I was this creator and now I'm not. I cannot create life anymore. So there's a feeling, false or of devaluation. So I have recently attributed that to menopause. Can you speak to that?
Absolutely. Yeah. Culturally or primitively, I like to look at primitive biology stories, right? And yes, there's a part of a very primal piece, which is in heterosexual relationships, it's coming together to procreate.
Okay, yeah.
Right? We're just like plants, dropping seeds to keep growing.
Right, that's the primal,
Right, more things.
Yeah.
So when a woman reaches that phase in her life where she's no longer ovulating, eggs aren't coming out anymore to be fertilized, somewhere along the line, we created a story that there's no value there because there's not a lot of sexual energy leaking out. That is a made up story. Women who were older, who were no longer childbearing, no longer had that sexual piece coming out, became crones. They were the wise women. Those are the women who can do so much more and hold up power so much more because their attention and their fire still exists.
But
in a
they're
way
not
that
distracted in procreation.
Correct.
Element.
Exactly. And
That's
so
what Barbara Hubbard used to say. I don't know if you remember. She's one of but she was like, 50-year-old women are the best. She loved speaking to them. And
I love doing croning ceremonies.
What's a croning ceremony?
A croning ceremony. So there's the maiden mother crone.
Yes.
Right. And a crone is when a woman realizes within herself that she's come to this place of wisdom. And so we do a ceremony that honors her time as a maiden, as a mother, whether she biologically had children or not, doesn't matter. There's that mothering period in her life. And then she is a crone. And a crone, again, is to be elevated. A
Not
crone is to be
devalued.
honored in her power and her strength, to still be a part of and care for the community in a way that her voice carries a larger bandwidth.
Right.
To the community.
But that's not how this current society is structured. We put the old people in homes. We call them old. We don't see the wisdom as we should.
So each of us individually change that and shake that up.
Yeah.
So within ourselves.
At that new moon.
I was just going to say that's
smack,
exactly
smack.
the new moon. I was about to say that, Nancy.
Yeah.
Totally. Let go of your woundedness. Let go of the stigmas. If we want to get to the next level, and if you look at you, right? People are like, oh, at our age, no one wants us.
Yeah.
It's like, I don't care if anybody wants me or not. That's their problem.
Right.
That's not my problem. That's their made up stuff. Right. That's some weird that's like a negative, limited ego based on fear, based on something that somebody told them. It's like, I'm not going to go by what other people tell me. Why am I giving them more credibility than my own sense of power and strength?
Right.
And my desire to live here on this planet in a way that is absolutely inspiring and nurturing to me. I can wear whatever I want. I can do whatever I want.
Yeah.
I'm not hurting anyone. I'm not manipulating anyone. I don't have any agenda to go beyond my own personal morals and beliefs. I'm here to really enjoy my time here. And whatever I feel that I'm capable of doing or I want to experience, I go for it. It doesn't matter how old I am. It doesn't matter what my gender is. It doesn't matter what country my ancestors came from or I came from. None of that matters.
That's true freedom, girl. Good for you. All right. I hope to get there. I hope to get there. So a couple things as you were speaking. One is I want to talk about fear. And then I also mentioned I was going to talk about compassion because that has been a theme. So let's start with the fear. And then we can send compassion to the fear. I was listening to Crying on the way up, and I find whatever comes into my feed is something I need to hear.
Yeah.
And then you, of course, validated it when we walked in the door here and we're setting up. Crying was talking about fear, but fear of, not fear of enlightenment, but fear of sharing that enlightenment. So my spirituality, and I make that distinction from religion, my spirituality is not something I share with my entire social group. I share it with a limited, when I'm hanging out with the Catholic gals, I don't speak the way I'm speaking here and now. And true freedom would be I just speak my truth wherever I am. So this fear Cryon was saying is based on previous lives of when you did question the establishment, you were burned or drowned or persecuted, imprisoned, and you and I, my cripes from this podcast, we'd be dead 150 times over. And so, so crying, you don't, his thing is with the new paradigm is you don't have to be a slave of the Akash, of the previous lifetimes, of the energy from previous lifetimes, of karma, no longer valid. Karma, Akash, previous lifetimes, And this actually came up in my card, my inverted peacock, which is just look to the new, just look to the new. Don't have to fix the old, just look to the new. And that is this new energy of new, and not
keep
being
going.
not being a slave of the old Akash. So, but what Cryon was saying was and what I just realized I'm a closet light worker. I feel like I'm in an AA. Hi, my name is Nancy, and I'm a closet light worker. So anyway, so I'm like, oh my gosh, yeah. I mean, so I'm like, as it is, I'm getting comfortable with the podcast. So I walk in the room today, and what does Aileen say? Nancy, it's time. I'm like, time for what? She's video. And I guess my face must have crumbled because she's, look at your face. Look at your face. So fear. Fear and irrational from past lives, maybe, but still there, maybe. So how do we let it go? For me, I guess it's bringing a video in here, a video camera in here. Yeah.
We're all experiential learners. And the challenge is if we feel guarded out of survival, then we're not going to experience that thing that we want to experience to then know it's safe.
Okay.
So to be loving and kind to ourselves. So
you kind of got a little loop there that you've kind of got yourself painted in a corner if you phrase it that way. Then.
Yes. And so again, we want to be loving and kind. And how do we come out of a corner? By loving kindness.
Okay.
And so that's why it does need to initiate from us.
So maybe that's the compassion point that leads into I was hearing this week as well. So I was hearing lectures on fear and compassion, quite the extremes. So compassion, Cryon completely redefines that. So again, like kind of not the definition in the dictionary. He says compassion, and I hope I can phrase this somewhat accurately. It has something to do, I'm going to say this because loosely, I know I'm not using his words. Compassion is that pure connection with God. Compassion is when you align with the divine, then everything you see from that perspective is compassion, which is like nothing I've ever heard. And compassion is not empathy, pity, thinking somebody is below you, sympathy, needs your assistance. So what he was promoting recently, and he does his lectures over the course of the month, 4 Healing Wednesdays, and there's compassion for others. There's compassion for you, the plan, which is the plan the divine has. That to me, that sort of aligns with trust. The hardest one, compassion for yourself, which I think is what I'm sort of moving through. And I haven't listened to the 4th one, so I'll keep you waiting. I don't know what his 4th compassion is, but he is promoting directed compassion. So align with the source, feel that immense love and trust and purpose, and then shoot it at somebody.
I was talking about the Care Bears when the Care Bears came out, and they had the Care Bear stare. So they would have this emblem on them, and it had like an image. And so the Care... Yeah, so Google Care Bears and the Care Bear stare. So if there was a character in the cartoon that was, being disruptive, right? Doing harmful things or trying to take over something or hurt something. The goal was that the Care Bears would be able to circle this person as being this creature. And someone would say, Care Bear stare. And it was this complete unconditional love that would just like shoot at them. And then they would melt and they would know that they were loved and everything would turn out okay.
Aw, I think Care Bears were previous to my children. We were Teletubbies.
The Care Bear stare is pretty awesome.
Care Bear stare.
Care Bear stare is one of them.
From we crones and all our wisdom, Care Bear. How do you save the world? The Care Bear stare.
Totally, absolutely. And the other thing I want to say when we dealing with our own fear, if the first thing we can do is to say to ourselves, it is reasonable that I have fear. Right? We don't have to know why. Could be a past life,
but we're also designed to be fearful for survival, right? That I think we spoke of that in one episode. There is reason to have fear because you're sort of just, your primal part of you, your cellular structure is designed that way to get you out of danger and to be aware of danger. Old.
And it's when we judge ourselves, we push ourselves, we belittle ourselves. If that triggers for us to say we're not normal and we're not okay, then it spirals. So if we can say, it's reasonable that I'm experiencing fear right now for what I have lived, either this time, a past life, a parallel universe, another dimension, right?
Yes.
To say it is reasonable that I am experiencing fear right now. My intention is to neutralize my attachment, my judgment, my thoughts on my fear. And from there, I will have freedom to explore in a way that I'm held safely by myself, by the universe, and all that is good and wise and positive and wants me, supports me to have a really good time here on planet Earth.
Dang, girl, I'm going to cut that clip and loop it and put it in a sound bite for me with my cry-on music for when I go to sleep, because that was completely divinely inspired. That was gorgeous. Dang, girl. Yep. Yeah, what she said, people. What she said. And how perfect as we close that. I don't think it can close any better than that. Dang.
Here we go. We got it.
We got this. And as always, more to be revealed. Thank you for joining us on Expansive Minds podcast, Gateway to Freedom. Until next time, more to be revealed.